Hallo en welkom by meneer Libbe se les oor stompie. Today we're going to look at stompie, which I see as the building blocks of Afrikaans. So eerstens, wat is stompie? What is stompie? Stompie is the basic structure of an Afrikaans sentence. So if you think back, how many times has it happened that you get an essay back or a sentence back and the teacher complains about your word order or that your words in the sentence weren't in the correct order? Well, that is why we have stompie. That's why stompie was created, to tell us exactly what goes where in a sentence. So this is an English shortcut. So Afrikaans home language speakers wouldn't know the shortcut, but it was formulated especially for English students who has Afrikaans as a first edition language. And it helps us to understand and to recognize the Afrikaans sentence structure. Because when you're a home language speaker, you grew up with a language and it is something that happens instinctively. But if you are a first edition language speaker, then you don't exactly know what word goes where in a sentence. So that is why we have stompie. So for us to use stompie the way we should first investigate what each one of these letters stand for. So when I have stompie, when I look at stompie, each one of these letters is an acronym for something else. So I start with my S, which is my subject, my V1, which is my verb 1, my T, which is my time, my O, which is my object, my M, which is my manner, the P, which is my place, V2, which is my verb 2, and then my I, which is my infinitive. So when I take this sentence, I have to know what is what in that sentence. So to be able to understand how I use stompie, I need to do the following. I need to ask myself the following question. So each one of these components of stompie has their own question to be able to completely identify the correct part of that sentence. So with stompie, the S, as we've already said, stands for the subject. And when I have to know what is my subject in a sentence, I ask the question wie, or who. So wie did what, or who did what? That's my subject. Then for my time, I ask the question wanneer, or when. When did it happen? That would be the time. So the answer to any one of those questions that I'm going to ask now would be the time, for example. So when I have to find out what is the object in a sentence, I ask the question wat. What was the verb being done to? My manner would be who, or how was it done? My place would be waar het dit gebeur, where did it happen? And then for my infinitive, I ask the question hoekom, or why. So to be able to identify all these different parts of stompie, let us use an example sentence. So our example sentence for today would be die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. So the man kicked the ball yesterday in the park to practice. So let's break each one of these components of stompie down into smaller pieces to be able to understand each one of these components on its own. So firstly, I have my S of stompie, which stands for the subject. So what is my subject? I ask the question, as we saw on the other slides, wie, or who. So wie het die bal geskop? Who kicked the ball? And the answer to that question would be my subject. So in our example sentence, it would be wie het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen? And my answer to that would be, if I take the example sentence, die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. So in that sentence, my subject is die man, the man. Next, we have our V1, which is our verb. Well, this is usually our auxiliary verb, or in Afrikaans, our hulpwerkwoord. So when we're in the teenwoordige tyd, the present tense, it would usually be is. When I'm in the toekomende tyd or the future tense, it would be sal. When I'm in the verlede tyd or the past tense, it would be het. So in this sentence that we have as an example sentence, die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. So that het that you see there would be our verb 1. Then, next is our T for time. So what is the time in the sentence? And if we think back, the question we have to ask there is wanneer, or when. So in this case, or in another sentence, when did the verb happen? So when did this situation that happens in the sentence, when did this happen? For example, wanneer is die bal geskop? When was the ball kicked? And your answer to that would be the time. So in our example sentence, die man het wanneer die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen? And the answer would be, die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. So next we have our O, which is our object. And what is the object in the sentence? So as we already said, we ask the question what. For example, die man het wat geskop? What did the man kick? And in our sentence, we would ask the question, die man het gister wat hard in die park geskop om te oefen? So what did the man kick in the park yesterday to practice? And our answer to that would be, die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. So die bal would be our object in this sentence. Next, we have our M, which stands for manner. So what is the manner? I asked the question, as we already said, who or how. How was the verb done? Or the manner in which the verb was done. So that would be our answer to the question. And the answer would be, for this sentence, die man het die bal hoe geskop? How did the man kick the ball? Die man het gister die bal hoe in die park geskop om te oefen? And our manner in that sentence then would be, die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. Then we have our P for place. So what is the place? As we already said, we asked the question waar or where. Where did this happen? Waar het dit gebeur? Where was the verb done? In the sentence it would be, die man het die bal waar geskop? Where did the man kick the ball? And to find out that, we have to look at the question in the correct place of place. Die man het gister die bal hard waar geskop om te oefen? Die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. Then we have our verb 2, where we have verb 1, that would be the auxiliary verb. Verb 2 usually is the main verb in the sentence. So this is the verb, the action that's being done. In our sentence, it would be, die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. He kicked the ball. It's what he did. So it's what was done to the object by the subject. So, yes, and then we end with our infinitive, which is our I in STOMPI. So what is the infinitive? And this is usually the part where learners get confused with the I. So, as we said, we asked the question hoekom, or why. Why was the verb done? What was the reason for doing the verb? Hoekom het die man die bal geskop? So then we usually can see the infinitive by using or te, or both of them together, te. So immediately when I see an or a te or an te in a sentence, then I must immediately know that whatever follows that is my infinitive. And that always goes at the end of the sentence. So in our example sentence, hoekom het die man die bal gister hard in die park geskop? Why did the man kick the ball yesterday in the park? And the reason why he kicked the ball in the park yesterday? Om te oefen. So die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. So that's the reason he did the verb, which is kicked. So now we get to the golden rule of STOMPI. Because STOMPI wouldn't always just be asked in the correct order. Most of the times they would ask you a question where they ask you to start with the underlined part. And then we have to know exactly how to handle this. And that's where the golden rule of STOMPI comes in. My golden rule of STOMPI is whatever I start with, verb 1 always follows. So if the teacher gives you a sentence with the time or the manner or the place that is underlined in a sentence, and she asked you to start with the underlined part. An example question in an exam paper would be, begin die sin met die deel van die sin wat onderstreep is. Start the sentence with the part of the sentence that is underlined. So now, if we look at that example sentence, die man het gister die bal hard in die park geskop om te oefen. So gister is underlined, and that would be our time. Because S is the man, verb 1 is het, next we have T for time, and that is gister. So now, I write down gister as they instructed me to. I write down my verb 1, and then I have to start somewhere. A great place to start would be at the beginning. So you start with your S of STOMPI, the time you already wrote down. Then you start writing down your object, your manner, your place, your verb 2, and your infinitive. And that is how you start a STOMPI sentence with anything else but the subject.